Hey there, welcome back to the New Era YouTube channel. My name is Paul and I'll be your host for this session. Today we're going to be talking about multi-factor authentication. And within the integrity controls environment, we offer two forms. One we refer to as multi-factor edit and the other we refer to as multi-factor ICE. Both are extremely important in terms of providing access checking, certainly a rule that NIST and other organizations support fully. We're going to spend probably 20 minutes in a PowerPoint and demonstration mode. Not much time in the PowerPoint, most of the time in the demonstration itself. So let me go ahead and share my screen and then we'll go ahead and get started. So I'll go to that PowerPoint and here it is. If you're looking for this, and obviously you've already found it since you're on YouTube, it's number 9. There are lots of YouTubes out there on ICEDirect. Again, this one is focused on multi-factor authentication. So for a bit of background, you obviously know by now that the ICE data space is large and it contains inspection logs and baselines and clusters, control categories and journals. And there are functions within it that allow you to filter that information if you choose to do it, to change a warning to an error, or to just filter out certain default messages that might otherwise be recorded in the control journals themselves. You know by now that we offer two forms of access to the data space. One is 3270 based, you connect via TN3270. The other is browser-based, where you connect via TCP/IP. The basic difference, other than the interface difference, is that when you're connecting via 3270 in the TSO-ISPF environment, you have access to edit. That is, you can do whatever you would like to do and are authorized to do in a TSO environment. And you are fully in control of the integrity controls environment, of course, assuming you're an administrator. When you are in a browser, you're in browse mode. You really can't change anything in the COS environment, but you can change some things in the integrity controls environment, again, given that you might be an administrator. So let me explain why we have these two and how they are different one from the other. First, we'll deal with MFE. In the case of MFE, the background story here is that the user is a privileged user, and the organization is using the control editor and has defined some control categories to manage data sets and files and libraries. In the NIST terminology, this is referred to as dependency mapping. We have mapped a set of resources to a specific control policy that will help us to manage that access and record information about it. Now, RACF, ACF2, and Top Secret are still doing their thing. SMF records are still doing their thing. So we haven't obviated any of that. We've just simply added another level of control. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add MFE. Now MFE is a function that allows the control editor to determine whether or not a user is permitted to a given control category. Again, in the NIST spirit, this is sometimes thought of as being excess access checking. Some people don't like that very much, I have to admit that. But this is a core part of protecting ZOS from malicious, hurtful activities, sometimes incorporated within the basic concept of zero tolerance architecture. That is, we don't let anybody in unless we specifically permit them. And that's what MFE is really all about. Now, MFE functions with the external security managers by asking them to generate a pass ticket token, a one-time use token that it can use to help the user to respond to a challenge that they're going to meet when they attempt to reach one of these controlled categories. And here's how that works. First, there are two options for delivery of the token itself. It can be delivered via email, and in that case, it's the full token, or it can be delivered using a no mail option, in which case it's delivered as a token suffix. In that case, the user has already registered with the integrity controls environment a private PIN. And the combination of that private PIN and that delivered suffix give them, along with the full token, if they chose that method, the opportunity to meet the MFE challenge. That is, at the point in time in which they attempt to access these resources, they are going to be challenged and asked to provide the token. And if they provide the token, they're in for one time. If they don't, they're out, and then they have to try again. So it's basically pretty straightforward. It's not a replacement for RACF, ACF2, or Top Secret. They're still in the picture. It's simply a supplement that allows for the specific identification of a user, their specific permitted rights against a mapped set of resources. And this access and checking is a fundamental step in helping to improve the control and the integrity and the security of ZOS resources. Now, let's go to the web. So here's our guy at the web browser now, and they want to get into a ZOS environment themselves. So they're going to have to authenticate with ZOS, whether they do it directly with ZOSMF or they do it with ICEDirect isn't critical at this moment. They have to authenticate with ZOS in order to reach the ICE data space. Now, we offer within this context another form of multi-factor authentication that we call multi-factor ICE. Now, multi-factor ICE can work directly with ZOSMF, and we'll likely show you that in the demonstration. But once we are authenticated with ZOS, we're going to have to take the additional step of authenticating with ICEDirect using similar methods of tokens and email delivery that we used with MFE. So let's see how that works. So we're going to ask the external security manager again to generate for us a pass ticket token, a one-time token, and we're going to deliver it to the user either via email or selecting the no email option, in which case they would have their own private PIN. If they meet the challenge, then they will be allowed to enter the ICE data space and use ICEDirect. If they fail the challenge, they will be opted out. They will have authenticated with ZOS. That's not a problem. We'll take care of that. But they will need to take that additional step. Again, this is an issue of excess checking, and excess access checking can lead to a better level of integrity within the ZOS environment, and clearly leads to a better level of integrity for those that are accessing the ICE data space from a browser through ICEDirect. Now, the panels that we're going to be focusing on today are these two. The one at the top is for MFE, and the one at the bottom is for MFI. And you can see highlighted here the two options: no mail, email, no mail, email, with some little icons associated with them. Here you can see user IDs, and from here we can define new users if we want to by selecting a blank opening and selecting it, putting in appropriate user ID, and then continuing on. So this is our basic story. Now I'm going to go ahead and end this show. And I'm going to go directly to a browser. And I'm going to see if my history is going to give me what I want. Yes, I think it will. Okay, so let me just show you here. So let me shut this down here just for a second, because I think it'll be better If I start from the beginning, I'll go back to my browser, bring him back up, go find my history. And I think that this is probably the one. Nope, sorry about that. I'll get it right here in just a moment. Okay, so I'm sorry about that. So this is the ZOSMF primary logon panel. So I can go ahead and log on. I know you've heard me say this 1,000 times. Don't use autofill. It's just not a good thing. I'm going to go to the classic view. I'm kind of a classic guy, I guess. Well, certainly a legacy guy. And you can see here on the links page, we have 2 ICEDirect. So we can put any number of links here integrated into the ZOSMF environment itself. ICEDirect is the system we're going to use. ICEDirect Remote is in another sysplex that's part of our development environment. So you may have a local sysplex, certainly remote sysplexes across town or across country, wherever they might be. You can access them all through this common links facility. Now we'll go ahead and select ICEDirect. We'll go ahead and log in again. And you'll see one of the options that we have here. So now this is that option where no email is in play. And so I have a private PIN registered with the system. It's in a vault-like environment. It's encoded and encrypted. And so I'll go ahead and enter it. I'm the only one that knows it, by the way. And if I did it right, oops, it failed. Okay, well, we get to demonstrate that again. Okay, here's my token one more time. Sometimes my fingers just don't work the way I want them to. Okay, so we've done it all here now. We've come through ZOSMF, we've selected the appropriate link, we re-authenticated with ZOS, and now we've authenticated using MFI with the integrity controls environment, and now we see for the first time the ICEDirect primary menu. And there's lots of selection items here. The one that we're going to work on today is my MFA. So I can go ahead and select that. And you can see our 2 options up here at the top. The frame that's on the left-hand side, we refer to as the sidebar. And so all of our selections are made from the sidebar. The frame at the top where the results showed up is called the directs frame. This is where we're going to take action to direct ICEDirect to do something for us. And so one of the things we might direct it to do is give us access to the administrative functions that are associated with MFE. So I'll go ahead and click that. And by the way, these functions are only accessible by TCE Prime or TCE administrators. These are not available to the average general user. And so we can see the panel that we set out to find. We have a list of user IDs that are active, and we can see whether or not their activities are controlled via email or no email, and some of them have those noted accordingly. So we'll select one that's an email only. Now what it's doing is it's accessing the integrity controls environment and extracting the control cards that are associated with this particular control for this particular user. And you can see the primary action control card, which we call the method, is shown up at the very top here. And it says the method is email. And so that's the way the token is going to be delivered to this particular person. Now this person is not on their own. This person also has involved third parties. And so in this particular case, this token that gets generated is going to be sent to this person, not to the person who will ultimately use it, but to another person. And they will have to collaborate with each other in order for the person that's going to use the token to actually get it, because he's not or she's not going to get it sent to them by email. It's going to go to someone else. What they can do within the control structure, that is those items that are within that boundary mapping I mentioned earlier, are also contained here. And here they are. They're on what we refer to as win statements. And these win statements indicate the category names, that is the boundary mapping for resources that are under the current control of the control editor and the integrity controls environment. Now, if we wanted to, we could essentially eliminate one of these right now. We could just say, nope, don't want that. Let's just simply get rid of it. And it would, when we selected update, it would go away. Now, I really don't want to do that for this guy, because I'm sure he has good reasons to be in that level of control, or why it was granted to them. So we'll go back. We can just use the browser back function to do things like that. Anytime we want to add a new row, we just shoot one of the radio buttons above where we want it to show up and press Insert Row. And a new row will show up. And then we could enter, if we were keeping our syntax straight, we could enter another win statement here just by copying this one. Whoops, if I can get it. There we go. Copy that one into here, and then change the category definition, and away we go. So we're in good shape there doing something like that. Now I'll just go ahead and eliminate that because we don't want to do it. This is going to maybe take a little bit of time to get used to using this as an interface. I understand that, but there's help here. So if we press the little life preserver, we'll see help panel pop up that explains what all these fields are and how they work. And then from here, I think after a few rounds through this, this will become extremely familiar to you. If I go ahead and update now remember I have a blank line here. So if I go ahead and update, I was going to put something in there, but I didn't put anything in there. Now, what am I going to do with the blank line? Well, the blank line gets blanked out. We don't have to worry about him. So here's what the control cards look like now within the control structure of the integrity controls environment. So you get to replay this if you need to. You can just use the browser backup button again, put in whatever needs to be done, change whatever needs to be done, and then update again. Now, always keep in mind that updates are immediate, okay? They take place immediately. The control, not only is the control structure updated, but it's also activated when you push that update button. So just keep that in mind. That's a good thing always to stay in touch with. Now we can go up to our directs panel and click on multi-factor ICE. And we can see a similar structure here. These are all the people who have been given permission to use ICEDirect. All the people with MFE have been given permission to approach and be challenged to update controlled data sets in the TSO ISPF environment. Now we're on the browser side, and here are all the players who have been who have been permission to access the integrity controls environment through a browser. And you can see they have the same options. Some will receive email, some will get no email, they'll get just simply a token. So I can go to any of these. I'll go to, let's say this one, and update, because I want to update that. So now we can see how minimal this control really needs to be in order to provide update access to ICEDirect. There's no when statements here because we're not providing any permissions to access any of the boundary mappings. There's no resource access here. The only access that we have is to the integrity controls environment data space, and certain controls, not full controls, but certain controls, like this is a control. So we can update this from here, but we can't update everything. All right, I want to make sure you understand that. There are limitations that we've placed on the system when it's being accessed from a browser. We can insert rows if we want to. We can actually change the prefix that's been assigned to a user. I often like to give my dog a shout out here. Her name's Luna. I'll type in Luna there, and we'll go ahead and press update no email. Now, when this comes back, you're not going to see Luna. What you're going to see is what Luna looks like once it's encoded. Okay, we use simple substitution cipher here to do that. But this in turn is encrypted and stored in our vault as a user record. And so it's extremely difficult to extract that. And this is never displayed in clear text. But just to let you know, from an administrator's point of view, you can change this on the fly. This is now active. It's updated throughout all the control structures. The user would need to come in with that prefix in order to get into the system. So there are a number of other features here that can be accessed. I'm just backing up here now, just replaying what we went through. So that's pretty much it. Let me go back to my PowerPoint just for a second. You want to keep in mind that there's always help within the ICE environment. ICEDirect uses these little life preservers to guide you to those help panels. You just click on them and help panels appear. In this case, updating an existing MFI access control. So I hope you found this informative. I look forward to seeing you out here again on the New Era YouTube channel. Have a great day. Bye-bye.